Was 100% sure who was gonna win. For some reason, the game plan, my son didn't do what I told him he was supposed to do. His rhythm was supposed to be different, where we were supposed to stop Shakur from doing whatever Shakur does best. You know what I'm saying? Congratulations to him for winning. You know what I'm saying? But that was not my son in there. I think probably the networks and everybody, the media, everything leading up to this fight, everybody already talking that already about Shakur fighting in May, where the winner was supposed to go and fight in May, against whoever it was. So I think that probably got to him, you know what I'm saying? People talking about me being drunk, all that stuff, when he went to the press conference and I wasn't there, I didn't show up because I was resting. And I think all that affected him in this fight, Like a lot of people say, my son is like mentally like easy to, mess with. And how you gonna fight, a fight when everybody wants you to lose? You understand what I'm saying? And I don't know what happened. It just looked like all his powers were not there. Like everything was like that we planned, everything that he did in sparring, everything that we planned to do was not there.
My condolences to all you guys and to the slavery and everything that's ever happened mentally.
This fight didn't go your way. I know it's a lot to think about, but what are you thinking about next?
What am I thinking about next? I got to...
Alrighty then, let's talk, man. So a lot of people saying it's over for Teo. He apologized for the racist comments that he made after the fight. I didn't even stick around and listen to it. A lot of people in the Discord, or somebody in the Discord was saying that they put these fights on too late. And I definitely agree. When they fight on the West Coast, you get it. But to basically have the main event start around midnight, especially it's Shakur Stevenson fighting, because he gonna put you to sleep. Shakur Stevenson. Hold on. That's crazy. Should know, especially how cold it is on the east side, bro. On the East Coast, excuse me. Should no fight that cold on the East Coast be shutting down. Should be, over at 1 a.m. I think it was over like 1:30 in the morning, something like that, Eastern Standard Time. But T.O. apologized. He looked defeated. His father said some things in the interview, said it ain't what they trained for. He wasn't giving no instruction in the corner. It was an interview before this. I might chop some of this stuff up and put it in there before the video, where he said that, he was only doing this for the money. What May say? Used to be murder, but but P. Diddy named me pretty. Did it for the money. Now, can you get, he said he has some debts that he need pay, and this fight basically was going to help him pay off his debt. So, it was rumored that Shakur got 10, him being champion, maybe he got 11 or 12 or something like that. So, basically he sold, he knew he couldn't beat Shakur Stevenson. He knew he couldn't beat the guys like Devin Haney. This is why he had ill will towards, top rank, quote unquote, over promoting black fighters and not promoting him enough. This is why he had this kind of like this phobia about it. That even though, Bob, like, damn, for years they've been telling me I ain't been promoting black fighters the right way. Now, basically that's why he had this phobia, because his measuring stick was black fighters. That's what he measured. That's what he wanted to be like. He wanted to be hip hop culture. That was his measuring stick. And he knew he wasn't the real thing. And when people was trying to say, he was more faster than Shakur, I said, I don't know nothing about boxing. These are people that's in the industry. You know what I'm saying? These are people that's in the industry. These are people who fought. These are guys who was professional fighters. Come on now. What the fuck is you doing? Jesus Christ. You just sitting here at the light. Get the fuck off the phone probably. But yeah, this is like, Like, I'm like, usually when a smaller guy move up, he usually faster, especially if he don't bulk too much. And Shakur too smart for that. So that was common sense. They like Hispanics look like he looked fast. Tio looked fast versus other Hispanic fighters, bro. That's what I was trying to explain to y'all. He looked fast versus other Hispanic fighters. When you put him in there with a brother, you know, he looked like another. You know what I'm saying? That's just true. And this is why I always tell people, and I always heard Blood Boxing say this, shout out to Blood Boxing, he always say this, go learn the fight game for yourself. That way you can form your other perspective. My opinion, the foundation of my opinion or my synopsis on boxing, it isn't from somebody else. It's from just watching boxing, historically studying. But see, if you ever really notice somebody who historically don't have any knowledge on boxing, their history just, they comparison is always, oh, Mayweather Corrales or Mayweather and Canelo. It's always something that's recent. You know, when you watch somebody who historically, them historians got knowledge of boxing. You know, they talking about Foreman and Moore, or, you know, Holyfield or Bowe, or they talking about, Joe Louis, you know, some type of, you know, history, you know what I mean? But, you know, it might be over with for him. He said he got a new kid on the way, and, you know, he was just, you don't promote using racism, bro. You don't promote using racism. But that, you know, that little joke that he said, he might not be a pure, you know, true racist. I say that in his defense, he might not be a real racist, like in the form of how people see him. But what I will say about T.O. is his bigotry for black people come from jealousy, because he ain't. And a lot of times, you know, that's where, you know, the bigotry and racism, depending on how you which side you sit on, that's how it starts. It's just, you know, if you ever work with, you know, others, you know, if you get a special privilege on the job, you know, you might have something going on at home with your wife or your kid, or you might be going to school, you know what I'm saying? And you get a special privilege to leave. The number one thing, you may not hear it, you may not see it, but the number one thing that you get at the job, why does he get to do it and I can't do it? I want to go. That's what you're gonna hear. That's Brad and Becky's number one rule in their playbook. That's their number one go-to. If they see a black person get a promotion, or a minority have a promotion or a position of power, they instantly get into like, why does he get to do it? And what qualifies? You can have all the qualities in the world. You can have the resume. You can have the biggest and the best resume ever. You know? And they still be like, well, my privilege means I should have a better job than Julio. I don't care if Julio went to Johns Hopkins and finished his master's at Harvard. That's just the victim mentality they live in. You know, I remember Adonis, I ain't talked to him, but shout out to my brother, Minor Bruce. Adonis, I remember he told me, he said, Chris, let me tell you something. He said the average white person wouldn't trade black wealth for their white privilege. I said, damn, you know, I think about it, I said, damn, that shit was deep. And he was right. He was right. He was right. But T.O. is just jealousy, bro. It's jealousy, man. That's all a lot of racism and bigotry is. It's jealousy. That's 100% of what it is. You know, like Nas said in that song he had called Stay, it's confused admiration. Like, nah, nigga, you wasn't even thinking about getting over. You could have got over. They be killing me with that shit, bro. Like, you was right behind the salt truck for so long, you wasn't thinking about getting over, fucking pussy. They be killing me with that shit. These old ass niggas in these pickup trucks, bruh. Just be want to pow pow. I swear to God, bruh. He a bitch ass nigga. Shouldn't shout his company out. Shouldn't report your vehicle like a Brad or Becky would. That'd be killing me, dog. Like, you wasn't even thinking about getting over. He was not. Didn't put your fucking blinker on, bro. I should report your bitch ass. And then it's icy out here, and then you want to just cut in front of a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? On the ice. Yeah, you fucking dingleberry. Now you want to get your bitch ass back over. Like, I can't stand these fucking drivers out here in these suburbs, man. They should be paying $300, $400, $500 in insurance, bro. They cannot drive, bro. On my mama, on my hood, they cannot. The best drivers are not in the suburbs. They're not. But back to T.O. You know, it's just a lot of this shit just jealousy, bro. That's all it is. And then for his baby mama, his son to have a stepdad that's black, yeah, goof troop ass nigga. Don't bring your cope and put it on the black people, bro. Don't bring your cope and put it on the black people. You know what I'm saying? And now you known as a racist. And then your dad saying the N-word in the corner. That's why Keyshawn popped your dad in the fucking mouth, allegedly. And his dad was talking about, yeah, we got black people in our family. Like, get out of here, man. Imagine what they be saying when the door is closed, for real. You know, he been mentally destroyed, bro. They knew they wasn't gonna win this fight. That's why he was talking to them ninjas and he was telling them on his own, oh, I'm doing it for the money. Of course. Of course. Your number one thing in camp, whether it was to close the gap on T.O. or not, your number one thing, or box him, the number one thing was to utilize the jab, bro. That was your number one thing in your camp. Nobody talked about the jab. Shakur is smart as fuck. He said, I told everybody before the fight, y'all gonna say I'm had one of the best jabs in boxing. He knows, in order for you to compete with him or possibly beat him, you gotta have a jab. You gotta have a jab. I kept telling y'all that, bro. This is why he hesitant to fight Devin. That's why T.O. was. I was hesitant to fight Keyshawn. You don't see too many jab dominant guys. And that's why Hispanics struggle versus black fighters. That's why. That's why. Because they don't jab. It ain't the athletic gap. Chavez beat plenty of black fighters. You know, Tim Tszyu, when he was fighting, had some success versus some black fighters. You got to be able to jab, bro. When he came in that fight and he didn't jab, I already knew what it was. He didn't just, you know, people talking about the speed, and yeah, the speed discrepancy, but when you jump and when you jump and throw a punch, you know what I'm saying? When you jump and throw a punch, you know, when you jump and throw a punch, or you just trying to, you know, lead with hooks and lead with your backhand and stuff of that nature. The thing about that, honestly, is just simply that gives Shakur T. Stevenson time to defend it. That's it. That gave him time to defend it. But when you throw a jab, you know, they got to get his head off the line and all that. So when he didn't have a jab, that was the number one telltale. If you don't plan on jabbing Shakur Stevenson, or you don't plan on just walking through, you know, his punches and the reckless abandonment, good luck. Good luck. That may not help you. So you got to jab, man. When you got to jab, they say, you know, when you up, jab. When you in doubt, jab. When you controlling the fight, jab. When you losing the fight, they say jab. If you don't know what to do in there, the number one thing they talking about, if you don't know what to do in the ring, you confused, jab. Jab, jab, jab. So thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the link tree. It's the person in the description. Follow me everywhere there. Join the Patreon. Peace.